Ethereum, Bitcoin, and blockchain. Is this the future of finance? Hello, my name is Raj Desai, and today I'm joined by my associate, Graham Gupta, to discuss whether the university endowment should invest in cryptocurrency.
So before we get into cryptocurrency, we want to start off, what's the duty of the endowment fund? Well, the endowment fund is first regulated by the legal boundaries by the Uniform Prudent Management Act, which says that the endowment fund must act in short and long-term needs of the university and has a legal and moral obligation to the donors. Along with that, they also have their self-guiding principles in terms of they want to provide stability to the university, leverage resources of revenue, and encourage research and innovation. This promotes the duty of the endowment fund, which is promote prudent investing and the longevity of the university and its stakeholders. Speaking of stakeholders, the stakeholders of the endowment fund are those who benefit from the revenue generated by this. On the right-hand side, you can see our prioritized stakeholder model, which has the universities on top, followed by students, the faculty, alumni, employees, and others. However, to become more nuanced, you can also look at the duration of interest. The fact that the students have a short-term interest, right? They go to the university, they get their education, they leave. Whereas the university, the faculty have more long-term interest in the longevity and perpetuity of the fund.
Now that we've covered more of the ethics behind the endowment fund, we'd love to dive into the world of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is actually a small facet of this crypto ecosystem that all works together to make this future of finance possible. First, we start with cryptocurrency, being a digital form of payment that are used by encryption algorithms. From there, we also have digital assets, which exist only in a digital form and come with a distinct usage right. And how do we own these assets? Well, that comes in with wallets and infrastructure. Wallets are these tools where investors are able to own these assets with a unique identification key. And also, we have infrastructure. These are businesses, VC firms, and private equity firms that are making the world of crypto a better place and more sustainable in the long term. And now, what is the foundation of cryptocurrency? That is blockchain. Blockchain, a digital ledger of transactions, is what cryptocurrency is based off of, and it's key to what the endowment should consider when investing in cryptocurrency.
So now that we've looked at the duty of the endowment fund and the crypto ecosystem, we can move into our recommendation. In phase one, we recommend the endowment fund doesn't directly invest in cryptocurrency because of economic volatility, uncertain legal market, and ethical considerations. Instead, we recommend that the endowment fund invest in venture capital funds, invest in the crypto network, which, as Raja has said, includes the exchanges of wallets, the infrastructure, and the underlying blockchain technology, because this offers above average market returns, offers diversification, and offers legal protection. In the long term, we recommend that the endowment fund reevaluates their stance on cryptocurrency by creating a framework on the endowment's goals and how the future cryptocurrency market can adequately meet their needs.
So now let's jump into our phase one with the economic, legal, and ethical concerns of why we should not directly invest in cryptocurrency. First, we have the economic risk, which the market has exhibited extreme volatility. We have an uncertain long-term crypto market leader. It's not backed by any stable asset, and businesses aren't using it as a payment system. Now, what are the legal risks? There are uncertain short-term and long-term domestic regulations. There is no government agency at this point in the United States that governs cryptocurrency and protects the investor. And also, international regulations are changing weekly and daily based on what cryptocurrency is doing around the markets. And finally, the ethical risks. Investing directly in the cryptocurrency violates our fiduciary duty as the endowment fund and our obligation to our shareholders and stakeholders. But beyond that, there's a negative impact in environmental impact and high crime risk, which leads the endowment fund not to directly invest in cryptocurrency. So now let's first start at the economic risk of investing directly in cryptocurrency. As seen by this graph, you see a high annualized volatility for all major cryptocurrency coins. Starting at Bitcoin and Ethereum showing a very high volatility. Compare that to the S&P 500, which has an 18.4% annualized volatility. Just based on those two factors alone, you can see that the extreme volatility of the cryptocurrency market does not align with our obligations to our university, which is long-term financial impact, and our students, which is short-term gains.
Alongside this economic volatility, we can also look at domestic policy. Although federal regulation has been proposed, there's no timeline on its implementation. It starts off with Biden's framework on the left-hand side, which was proposed last month, which said, basically, we need to look at cryptocurrency, right? But he didn't set any regulation. Instead, he assigned different governmental agencies to look at consumer fraud, protect the investor, and more. However, there's no idea what this regulation can look like. Furthermore, we proposed bills in Congress, but again, we don't know if it will be passed, and we don't know what it will look like in the future. Alongside domestic policy, we can look at international policy, which continues to evolve as regulation is built upon. Individually, some countries ban crypto, and some countries it's fully accepted as legal tender. But there's a wide spectrum out there. And if you look broadly at intergovernmental policy, the G20 is currently drafting and reviewing legislation where there's no timeline. And while the EU recently passed the Markets and Crypto Asset Bill and the Transfer Funds Regulation Bill recently, again, this provides some legal certainty, but we don't know how this will play out in actuality.
Now that we've covered the economic and legal risk of cryptocurrency, we have to look at the ethical considerations. And as I mentioned before, there's a significant sustainability impact for the environment. Just to see this above, between 2021 and 2022, we see 27 million tons of carbon dioxide emitted by cryptocurrency mining, which is higher than the largest coal plant in the US in 2021. And also, just recently, about a few days before this case was due, we had hackers recently steal $570 million. And Bloomberg estimates that this number in total for 2022 will be $3 trillion. Now, how does that factor into our ethical considerations of the endowment fund? First, we mentioned the duty of the endowment fund to provide long-term stability. The major volatility that we mentioned in economic risk breaks this duty of the endowment fund. Second, we have our stakeholder analysis. For students, we talked about the uncertain legal risks, and we don't know what the regulations could be. That does not protect our students. It does not protect our other stakeholders that we have as an endowment fund. And lastly, through a consequence-based approach, investing in cryptocurrency, the consequence could be that the money is stolen, hacked, or used for illegal purposes. You have to consider this consequence as a university when we're making investments in these type of financial ledgers. Now that we've discussed the economic, legal, and ethical risks of cryptocurrency investing in directly, we now need to move to our second phase, which is investing in VC firms in the crypto network. We see many economic, legal, and ethical benefits of doing so. Our first, economic benefit. We offer above average market returns when investing in VCs and allows the endowment fund to diversify its assets. Second, we see many legal benefits because there's already existing federal frameworks that protect the investor and shareholder in VC firms. And third, we meet our fiduciary duty as an endowment fund. We meet our obligation to our shareholders, and we're helping society as a whole by investing in these businesses that are trying to make cryptocurrency into a better place.
So looking at why do we want to do the crypto network VC funds? Well, in previous studies, in the 2018 study, 94% of endowment funds are already invested in the crypto ecosystem. Further, we can look at the University of Michigan and Harvard, which have already done this. So what does this mean for us? Well, there's a lot of potential VC firms out there. One we recommend would be AU21 Capital, which invests in all frontiers of blockchain through some of their highlighted investments below. Looking at the economic benefits of venture capital, though, the endowment funds already invested in venture capital as it's about 21% of our current allocation. This leads to a higher ROI, as if you put $100 in the S&P from 2018 to 2021, it results in $176. But if you put in the crypto network venture capital funds, you're over 3 times your initial investment, which offers great diversification, hedges our risk, and offers above average market returns. Looking at along with these higher ROI, we can also look at regulation which protects the investors on VC firms, specifically through the Investor Advisors Act of 1940 and the Dodd-Frank Act of 2010, which has timed this regulation. But more importantly, recently the SEC put a proposal which will further time this regulation for investors and VC firms by requiring quarterly statements and annual audits, as well as making sure that VC firms continually work to protect their investors.
Now that we've talked about the economic and legal benefits, we have to consider the ethical benefits of doing so. We use this from the utilitarian approach, the doing the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. First, we start with our key stakeholders, our students, our universities, and our faculty. Investing in VC firms, as you can see, offer a 17% average ROI compared to a 7.5% of the endowment fund. We also reduce our energy consumption, and we are giving back to society. We also have the stakeholders that we are considering. We talked about their expectations. And the key factor is investing in VC firms offers a positive impact for all our shared stakeholders.
So now that we've looked at the first 2 phases, we'll move on to phase 3, which is reevaluating our future framework. This includes having a stable, the endowment wants a stable return, they want legal protection, and they want to maximize their fund benefit and stakeholder benefits. And we see the crypto network could eventually do this. The cryptocurrency market could do this through general international investment, federal and international policy that safeguards us, and cryptocurrency reaching its potential to provide banking for marginalized populations. In conclusion, we recommend don't directly invest in cryptocurrency, invest in VC firms invested in the crypto network. Thank you.
Using the environmental, social, and governance, ESG, framework, argue for or against the investing of endowment funds from the University Foundation for Cryptocurrency?
Yeah, so if we look at the ESG framework on whether to invest in cryptocurrency, we can start with environment. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency already consists of 1% of the global energy consumption, right? That's so much for such a little used asset. If you look at social and governance, well, like we talked about, there's a lot of fraud going on. If you look at 2018 and 2021, there's 60x more fraud in the market. So that puts a risk for the endowment fund in terms of, our money could be hacked, it could be stolen, it could be used for illegal transactions. And lastly, with governance, right, we have a duty to our society. We talked about the stakeholder approach, we talked about our duty-based approach. If we have to fulfill these, and we need to make sure we're doing so in the right system. So if we invest in cryptocurrency, we're not meeting that ESG framework.
All right, thank you, India.